Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
All right, ladies and welcome to the program. Thank you so much for being with us. My name is Paul, and you have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We're building a liberty machine, and that we are so glad that you are with us today. The phone number, if you want to call or text us, 870-275-9799. That is the number to call. And, hey, joining us in studio, those of you who are watching the program, want to welcome back to the program. In studio, we've got Mr. Josh Waters is with us from Political Strategies. Welcome back, Josh.
Hey, Paul. Thanks for having me. It's good to be in the studios.
Yeah.
It's a rare occasion, so it's good to be in
I
Jonesboro.
know. You've probably been in here, what, one other time? Something like that?
Yeah, I think so, once or twice, but it's been a while, so it's good to be here.
And you, so we're in our studios here in Jonesboro, and you're from Jonesboro, right?
Yeah.
You're from NEA.
Yeah.
So,
I am, so it's good to be home.
You've seen the folks?
Yep. Went over this afternoon, be staying with them tonight.
Okay,
So
all right,
it'll be good.
So what brings you into town? Because you're, I mean, you live actually in Fayetteville, right?
That's right. So tonight the Greene County Republican Committee is meeting there in Paragould, and Conduit for Actions asked me and Donnie Copeland to go up there and kind of give a presentation about the legislative session, kind of a review of some specific bills, and then what did taxes look like, what did government spending look like, that kind of thing. So we'll be up there tonight, 6:30 at Simpkins Family Buffet. So if any of your listeners are in the area, would love to meet them.
So you've been doing a lot of these things, though, right? You were in, and let's see, I got to pronounce it right correctly. Deshay?
Yeah.
Okay, is that right?
Yeah, Deshay County.
Or Deshay. Deshay or Deshay?
I've heard it said both ways. So.
Okay, all right. Well, because I was, we've got a young conservative segment with the chairman of the Deshay County. I'm gonna have to figure this out.
She'll know.
She's gonna know. She's coming up on see what's today, Tuesday, Thursday. So
nice.
conservative future segment. So we're excited about that. A lot of younger chairmen who are involved in the Republican Party now in these county committees. And I think it's very enlightening. I was talking to her earlier this week. Kind of just talking about the interview, and she was talking about how among young conservatives. It's more of a libertarian idea, just like, hey, let's just get maximum freedom, maximum liberty, and let's get the government out of the way and leave people alone.
Yeah.
I mean, have you felt that? Where all have you been besides Deshay and other places?
Yeah, we were down there, and then we were in Conway at the Faulkner County Republican Group.
Okay.
And then in Ashdown last week with the Little River County Group. And so we'll be in Greene County. Next week we'll be in Randolph County. And then we'll be in Independence County later on this summer.
Okay.
So, yeah, but
nice.
no, I agree with kind of what you're saying. I think our generation, we've seen how big government has gotten and how controlling it can be when it gets that big. So people they want to be left alone. You know?
Exactly right.
More freedom, less government.
All right, Joe, I want to bring you in here. Our producer, Joe, you know this guy, or Josh, you know this guy. How do you guys know each other again? I want you to tell everybody.
We met my freshman year at the BCM, the Baptist Collegiate Ministry, on ASU's campus. I was put in what's called a family group, and Josh was considered my dad.
Oh, wow.
So that's how we met.
So he's going to call you son now. Is that what they do? So family group, and and so he was your dad.
Yeah, him and Hannah Fulmer was my mom.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Well, was he a good dad, or is he abusive?
No, he's a good dad.
All
He's
right.
a good dad. He brought us snacks and stuff. It was great.
Yeah, no, that was a great time, at the BCM there at ASU. That was a really fun time for me, and, it was a pleasure to serve as your father for that first semester, because they kind of
I feel like I'm watching Star Wars here. I didn't know that. I didn't know you guys were related.
But they kind of call it like mom and dad, because, freshmen coming in and
yeah, of course, yeah. It's the whole thing.
It's a cool thing.
All right,
yeah.
so Josh, I know I've asked you this, but I asked you in your impression of the session. You were down there covering the politicians and everything, and what's going on. What do you think happens from here? What are you hearing from people? Because you focus on things like, look, the folks who are raising or proposing tax increases, really fundamentally just a growth in government, the opposite of what a lot of people voted for. And so, what are people responsive when you tell them that? Are they already aware that what is going on, or are you having to tell them for the first time?
I think some of the more specific statistics on the taxes and the increases, those numbers, when they, hear the number of the gas tax hike, of the internet sales tax, over $300 million they're trying to get. When they hear that number, it really opens their eyes. I think they know it was going on, but they just didn't realize that large of a number. But, one thing we have noticed at these different groups, we kind of like to be a little more conversational. So it's like, what do you want to talk about? And it's kind of, what your impressions of the sessions were is kind of some frustration, or, feel like, missed opportunities, that kind of a feeling. They felt like, they've worked really hard to get these candidates in there in a lot of places, but aren't seeing the results they anticipated. So that's kind of been the reaction. I think they're starting to grow weary and frustrated, and something's going to have to give, I think, and I think they're ready to see what that's going to be.
Yeah, what is that? So the question is what's the action moving forward? What do you do about the people who have control of the leadership? And the there are some Republicans who I feel like want to vote conservative, but they have excuses, right? And their excuses are, well, the leadership is tying our hands. Now, to some extent, that's true. Not all the way to the extent of we can't vote conservative. We can't, because that really comes down to, voting your conscience, voting your principles, or voting for the people who have power and might be able to pull the puppet strings and give you consequences down the road or make you look bad or something like that. But at some point we got to figure out where do we go from here. I mean, I know we have primary elections coming out. Conduit for Action with this incredible article yesterday. That was a really amazing timing, considering we had Bob Ballinger announcing he's going to challenge Brian King, and then it was just a great reflection, or I guess blast from the past, to go say, here's a Republican governor, Asa Hutchinson, who takes sides in these primaries because his agenda is so important, and that agenda is not a limited government agenda. It's a big government agenda, or it's a status quo agenda at the very least.
Yeah, no, I think you hit it on the nail, or hit it on the head there. So I'm subscribed to the Republican Party newsletter that comes out every week. And if you look at the bottom, their tagline is, we support limited government and individual responsibility. And so what I've been encouraging people is like, look, the governor's getting in primaries, he's getting involved. But a lot of times Republican committees, they kind of want to stay out of it. I don't want to be controversial.
It's supposed to be against the rules, I thought, to even do that. But they may have to start.
Yeah.
There may have to be a little bit of a mutiny that develops, honestly.
And so that's what I've been encouraging. I think where we're at politically in Arkansas, I had a good conversation with a guy in Conway. I think where we're at, at least going forward in the near future, the battles are going to be in the Republican primaries. And if they really want to see the change that they've been hoping for, they're going to, I think, have to get involved in those primaries and, try to get the most conservative, limited government candidate who's really focused on actually shrinking the size and scope of government.
Yeah.
And sticking to what his promises are.
And if that means standing up to Asa, and I think some county committees are there, but I wonder if there are folks in the Republican Party listening to this, and I wonder what do you think about this? I mean, I'm talking about any county, any Craighead County committee, Republican committee. What do you think about picking sides in a Republican primary? Because this is what's going to happen. I mean, the primaries are coming. There's going to be some key races. The governor's going to try to unseat people who have not cooperated with his big government progressive agenda. I'm sure there's going to be some other primaries as well. But that's a great question, Josh. We need to actually pursue this. I think it's a great idea if the governor's going to get involved in these primaries, your county committee should get involved in these primaries. Should endorse. Should have vote. Should have the debate of the issues of the day within the committee, and not be afraid to say, hey, we've actually got to vote for the limited government candidate. And I got news for you: the limited government candidate, 9 times out of 10, and I say that just on the offhand chance that I really should say 10 out of 10, is not going to get the support of Asa Hutchinson. You're just not going to get it. So, I don't know. I think that's a good step, though.
Yeah.
Like that's actually something that could happen. These county committees could stand up and say, you know what, if ACEs get involved in a primary, we're going to get involved in a primary.
Yeah. I was kind of like that. I was involved in college Republicans and then kind of felt a little disenfranchised. But then I've decided, we got 76 Republicans in the House, a supermajority in the Senate, all the constitutional officers. This is a Republican state at this point, so the battles are going to be in the Republican primaries. And if I want, what I believe in and the policies in the Republican platform pushed, that's where it's going to have to be, is the debate within the committees themselves and in the primaries. So
yeah. That's a great idea. I think that's a fantastic idea. Yeah, a call or text, especially anybody a member of any of these committees out there within our listening area, Republican county committees. I'd love to hear from you, whether you're in the leadership of that committee or just on the committee, and tell me what you think about this. The number 870-275-9799.
Paul Harrell Program.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being with us. We're joined in studio by Josh Waters of Political Strategies. So this Conduit for Action article that we told you about, let's throw this up on the screen. We told you about this yesterday and read it to you. And here it is. Unlike previous governors, Asa Hutchinson openly picks sides in his party's 2016 primary races for the Arkansas House and Senate. Watch the upcoming Republican primary to be a battle between Asa First Republicans versus incumbent Platform and Promises First Republicans. That's exactly right. How many comments does this thing have, Joe? Scroll down a little bit. Let me see that. 171 shares, and I think it was up to 140-something comments at this point before I opened them. I guess I opened those comments, so that's why we don't have a number there. You'll be scrolling forever. Scroll back up to the top, actually, because this is you look at Janet Crow's comment. 142 comments. Look at Janet Crow's first one that we can see there. The Republican primaries will be revealing. Watch Asa's PAC money and see how far, basically. So watch where he's going to give his money. And look, Gary Epperson. By the way, Gary Epperson, I had a long conversation with him a couple weeks ago. This guy is fantastic, and he is Second Amendment rights activist like none other in the state, in my opinion. And Gary says, best Democrat governor Arkansas has ever had. Ouch. Do you see that comment there?
Oof.
And let me tell you something. The people know who Gary Epperson is. It's not like I promise you, Governor Asa Hutchinson knows who he is. I promise you. Matter of fact, that's how I'll leave it. Okay, so then we get this next one. See, look at the one right below it there. Douglas Smith. Douglas Smith says, does Conduit have their Republican or, I'm sorry, Tea Party candidate picked out? Interesting. Okay, so Douglas Smith, he's saying, look, I think we've got, I think Conduit's going to run some people or pick out some people to run. Calls them Republican. Oh, I'm sorry, Tea Party. I feel like Tea Party he's kind of an insult there. What do you think, Josh? He's trying to insult, like, hey, the Tea Party.
The
so
Tea Party.
So elitist.
If I remember right, the Tea Party is what came around in 2010 and turned Congress red.
Yeah, and it turned Arkansas red.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like this guy Doug Smith doesn't get it. Then you have some other people saying there is no Tea Party. The Tea Party is dead. We do have a group of patriots, though. You know, those who like to follow the Constitution. That's Ann on Facebook. And Douglas Smith then responds, I'm sorry, didn't know you had changed your name from Tea Party to Patriots. And then look at what CFA says here. Doug Smith, thanks for commenting. We are always happy to hear from the governor's staff. You see that comment right there? And we're broadcasting over at paulharrell.com, by the way, and YouTube and Facebook Live. Now, that's interesting. So that sent me on a little fact-finding mission. I was like, this guy, Douglas Smith, does he actually work for the governor? And he's commenting on Facebook on posts. And he commented, 8 hours ago? That's what it says. 20 hours ago, then 8 hours ago is the most recent post. So we tracked it down. You know, you've got that transparency.arkansas.gov website, transparency.arkansas.gov, and look at there. Can you zoom in on that so that they can see that? Douglas Smith, assuming this is the same Douglas Smith, Office of the Governor. He does work for the governor as an administrative assistant, making $50,107.62 a year. Wow. An administrative assistant making $50,000 a year. That's oh yeah, and it does say he's a male. He's a white, and he's not a Hispanic, is what it says here on the website. Because, of course, we got to know this. He started as soon as the governor really took office, January 13th of 2015. Interesting. I wonder how people feel about that. Forget the fact that he's commenting on Conduit for Action's website, trying to troll him or give him a hard time. Forget the fact that he's trolling Conduit for Action here on Facebook. But the fact that he does work for the government, making $50,000 a year. Now, it took me a while because I actually do think I remember this gentleman here, Doug Smith. He was a huge ACES supporter back during the campaign of 2014. And this is when, let me just kind of refresh your memory here. This is when there was still benefit of the doubt to give to ASA, right? Do you remember this, Josh?
Yeah.
I mean, people were still giving ASA the benefit of the doubt among conservative circles at this point because they were thinking, you know what? The Democrat Party platform is just terrible. We can't support Mike Ross, you know? And Asa is running ads saying he's against Obamacare. Asa is running ads saying he's for school choice. Asa is running ads saying he's for the Second Amendment, that the Second Amendment is what it says it is. And then, of course, you know, fast forward, we've got 2 legislative sessions and a lot of special sessions under. And, you know, Asa has really been about protecting the status quo of Arkansas government more than he's been about anything else. And so now, I don't know. I mean, that's what I remember of Doug Smith. And so, you know, when you support somebody on the campaign trail, you get government jobs. I mean, that's just kind of what happens.
Yeah. No, I mean, I don't know. I think people might be frustrated with that out there. You know, a lot of people are out there at work all day, every day. And then, you know, to see someone, you know, if you play your cards right, support the right candidate, you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
you're an administrative
he might
assistant.
be the best, you know, most proficient administrative assistant ever.
Speaking
and, you know,
of the benefit,
probably deserves all the benefits and salary.
I mean, speaking of the benefit of the doubt, I mean, yeah, I'm sure he's the best administrative assistant in the state, making $50,000 a year. I mean, 100%. I will totally. I'll give him that benefit of the doubt for sure.
But
all right, we got to go. We back in a minute. Hard break. Back in a minute.